Blog Talk Radio.
We welcome the night. Oasis, a radio show where we discuss all the latest movies and news from the world of horror. Joining me tonight, as always, is my co-host, Ian. Ian, are you there?
I am here.
How are you this week, sir?
Pretty good. Tired, mostly, but not too much to complain about this week.
I'll just say that I had 3 days of hell, and that was rough. It was like, Monday couldn't be any better, worse than Sunday. Monday comes along, and like, well, fuck, and then Tuesday comes along and just makes that even worse. Like, oh my God. So, but anyway, we got to get past the real world troubles, even though it's there. But this is the whole reason for everything, as we mentioned numerous times before, where we put our lives and everything that happens at a standstill and put them behind us and talk horror. And what better way than the continuation of our Christmas Horrors Marathon with our second film. And the Christmas season is going to take, as I put it in the show title, Shotgun, because we are reviewing a horror film in the Hanukkah tradition, the Jewish lore, simply titled Hanukkah. And this is the one that I was kind of looking forward to, and usually those are not the greatest, because this was one of those that had a lot of, I wouldn't say really name power behind it, but it had some recognition going about it when it was first, coming about. Of course, it being the one of the final films that Sid Haig took part in before passing. And you could see he was very, there's 2 people in here. You could just tell, we're old, like they aged, and it's just like it looked awful to see him that way. Like Sid Haig won, and then of course towards the end you have Dick Miller, and of course if no one knows Dick Miller, he's in Gremlins, he's all kinds of Joe Dante stuff, Roger Corman films, Bucket of Blood, stuff like that. And it's just like so awful to see him, at that age and just seeing him old. But again, that's the way life is, and the way the world works. But Hanukkah, again, is a Jewish slasher movie, Christmas movie, holiday movie, whatever you want to put it. It's Christmas. It's Jewish Christmas. And I liked the idea that the film portrayed when you read the synopsis. Sadly, the synopsis doesn't really do the film justice, because that's my synopsis for the show, getting everyone prepared, was a better rendition of what the film did turn out to be. Because
right.
the gist of the film is there's this killer who is called the Hana Killer, and he kills or goes after bad or unrespectful Jews who doesn't believe or, worship the Sabbath or, all that stuff, keep it holy, and they just go against, Jewish tradition, and he kills them. And that sounds awesome, like during the, 8 days of Hanukkah. And it was like, okay, that sounds cool. Sadly, the film doesn't do that. They had other plans, and it kind of did not work in its favor. So we'll get into everything, and that's just, we have to set this up for where it will eventually lead. But the beginning of the film, we are introduced to Sid Haig, who is Jebediah, I believe, or Judah. I forgot his name. I don't have it written down here. I don't even have my notepad with me. Judah. All right, Judah. So he is, the very old Hana killer. And he has to basically sacrifice his son. And we have a fully nude Caroline Williams, which surprised me because, again, I've met her numerous times at conventions, and she's a beautiful lady and just a great person to talk to and enjoy conversation with. And to see her, actually fully nude is like, I did not expect that. Again, one of those times where just the person, they're fully nude, Jesus. Not saying anything bad. I mean, she's a beautiful lady. Even if she is covered in blood and goo and all that stuff in the bathtub, still gorgeous. But nonetheless, get my man stuff out of the way. So Judah has to sacrifice his son, Obadiah, and he is he looked like 6 or 7, I would assume. Maybe pushing 8, I don't know. But he was a young child, and this is 80 something when this 83 somewhere in there. And he has to sacrifice his son. And of course the cops come in, kill him, and that leaves Obadiah. Again, we get this later on in the film, where he is sent to correctional facilities and treatments and all kinds of houses, second houses to help with what because he was in trauma and it was a big thing, and of course I guess he was sort of abused. I have no idea, but again, it's 36 years later, present time, and we're introduced to a handful of characters that, again, I wrote their names because I had to write their names to know exactly their points, because we have a lot of names, and it really doesn't do any justice to keep track because it doesn't really matter. But we have Josh, who is the only black character, and I got to get into that because I got to get into that later. But we have Josh, who is dating, or he's getting married to another character, Rachel, and Josh is supposed to go with Rachel to meet her mother, who is played by PJ Souls from Halloween, and she's the mother, and that's a side plot. But Rachel decides to go to a party with David, who is the friend, and she has sex with him. And so, again, Josh is this all thing. He's a perfect, in a sense, he wants to keep the Jewish tradition, and he thinks that her mother is sort of hitting on him at certain scenes. So we have that. We have Judy, who is sort of all tattooed up. She's sort of like the alternate goth chick in a way, who also wants to bang Rachel. Basically, Rachel is the one everyone wants to have sex with. And then we have Adam, who is, her voice is very raspy and very, very low. But again, I think I've seen her in another movie. I didn't look her up after, during, getting everything prepared. But I know I've seen her in another low-budget movie because her voice is very, I remember it. But yeah, very, very raspy voice. And let's see, we have Adam, who is, he's the sort of the nerd in a sense, but he's the one that looks like the main Jew, because he's very Jewish looking. He has the glasses, he has the poofy hair, just that overall, Jew look. And then Josh, again, like Josh is black Jew, and he's like, again, the whole thing. But nonetheless, we have to get into this freaking plot of this movie, which there hardly is not a plot. So they all are going to this party that they're invited to by their friend. I think it's Ian who invited them.
Yep.
So Ian set up a party, and basically it's a bunch of guys with a few girls, basically the ones I mentioned, and then like a couple Russian dudes who they meet up. And so this plot is just not good at all, and it's just very, very horrendous with this plot. And I get they're trying to do this Halloween-style type of film, even at the beginning of the movie with the Hanukkah killer standing behind the shrubbery. Probably the actual bush that Michael Myers stood during Halloween, that everyone takes pictures and posts selfies of. Like, look, we're at the Halloween shrub bush. Just that that square bush on the sidewalk there. And so the first exposure of the Hanukkah killer is him killing a Nazi, basically a Nazi enthusiast, a skinhead. And the gore in the film is good. I like the gore. I like the look of the Hanukkah killer, even though he reminded me of like the killer in Wax Mask and Tulpa. It's very similar, just the brim hat, the dark black coat, the good silhouette. Again, I've seen it, a few other times before. Even like the killer in Miner's Massacre looks exactly like that in a silhouette form. But nonetheless, I like the idea of the Hanukkah killer that he only kills, bad Jews. It's like Jason, only like killing bad campers or people who want to have sex, stuff like that. Just very, basic. But then, like, later on in the film, it just gets convoluted and just a mess. Not a bad mess, but it kind of falls flat. And just like, where is this going? This whole film is just not. It doesn't know what it wants to achieve. I know it's trying to be these other films, like a Halloween, a Jewish Halloween, basically. And we had that, again, it reminded me of last week's film, Christmas Blood, because of the runtime was awful, and it's just like it needed to be trimmed. And, like, again, the whole point of the killer going after these people, and it's just like, there was really no point. Like, all the characters, all the dialogue was horrendous. And it's just like nothing mattered when it came to the dialogue, because they were just worried about, oh, I'm having sex with Rachel, and she had sex with this person. Oh, I watched. I kind of did. And then there's like, who wants jalapeno poppers? And then they're worried about getting a cab to leave the house because they're at this party, and their tires are slashed, and they're just staying there. And then the sister gets angry. Ian's sister gets angry at them and tells them to leave. And then just like it keeps going and going, and it just does not add anything to the central plot. And then we get this Loomis character, I think his name was Vice, and he comes in like at least an hour and 10 minutes, I would assume towards the end of the movie. And like the synopsis of the film makes you think he's like a main character. He's not. He's barely in it for like 2 scenes. And then it doesn't really even matter. Because he's there to tell you more about Obadiah and his reasoning for everything and what Judah did to him, and like again, he's the Loomis of the film, and it keeps prolonging everything, and it's just like there's nothing there. And like I said, like the gore is good. It needed a little bit more. I mean, what we got was great. I mean, I love the first kill with the skinhead, and like he saws off the scalp with the tattoo of the Nazi, the Nazi logo. I forgot what the swastika. And he peels the skin off the scalp and the skull, and like he cleans it, and then he puts the the not skinhead scalp onto his like a yarmulke and wears it, and he puts the hat over it. And it's like, that's awesome. That's cool. I wish there was like they utilized more interesting kills like that. And then like later on, spoilers, but one of the girls with the tattoo, Judy, she has tattoos all over her body, and then he basically skins her alive because of, if you're a Jew, you're not supposed to have tattoos or hurt your body basically in a sense. And so like we don't really know exactly who our main character is. And it's supposed to be, like, basically it's Adam, the nerdy, kid, the nerdy guy, because, like, he has this big speech towards the end that goes back and forth with Obadiah, and, like, you're thinking, because, like, there's this whole, yeah, it was, but, you know what, you get into that, and then we'll go back and forth and get into a little bit more spoilers, but, again, there's a lot of stuff to discuss. So give your thoughts, and then we'll go back and forth.
Well, like, the back and forth with the killer was just, it felt weird. Kind of felt a little off. Like, I got it. They wanted him to get from point A to point B. But at the same time, like, I felt like he shouldn't have been that calm. And especially, like, it took him forever to realize who the person was that was, flayed. And I was like, if all of your friends are there, all of your friends are up against a wall, and one of them isn't, it's a safe bet you should know who's the one that's flayed. But I digress on that. But I was like, he was way too calm for that situation. It felt like, I don't know, it was just a weird back and forth that, doesn't really lead anywhere. But I don't know, they kind of, like, I don't know. I was expecting some more to happen, but you don't really get all that much. But I did like I loved the gore scenes in it, especially towards the end, before the credits roll, when you see the Star of David as intestines. That was amazing. I absolutely loved it. I was like, yes. I was hoping that something like that would happen, and I'm sad that it happened toward the end instead of, like, toward the beginning. But that party and everything just dragged on, and I hate party movies that drag on too long, especially when they're just like, it felt like a sitcom party, more or less. And I was like, I don't know, the movie had weird pacing. Like, some parts of it was way too long, and then some just felt like there was, like, some moments that felt like it was a good amount of scene, and then some just felt a little too rushed. Mostly toward the end, felt too rushed. But, I mean, I thought it was pretty good. I liked, there was a lot that I liked about it, but I don't know. I might watch it again one day. But
yeah, the potential, like the full potential of it was just sorely missed. They really passed over it. There was again, we say that a lot, like Christmas Blood last week. I mean, it was there. If it was just trimmed, basically. This one, it's like it was there, and like if they just went a certain route, it would have been fine. I wouldn't care if it was long. If they just took some of the party scenes, got rid of that, give them some more kills, or Hanukkah killer, stalking them. It's like it doesn't even matter. He's just like, oh, they're just there now in my shed. Like, okay. And you really, again, you get backstory, but you don't get much of it. And then, as you said, towards the end, it just goes all over the place. We're like, okay, what's going on now? Like, okay, so this is happening with Adam and the Hanukkah killer, and like, then he spins the dreidel in the skinhead skull that yarmulke, and then the other person, the Feist, have something happen to him. They're at a funeral, and then like, what? They're introducing all these other characters. It doesn't really like come out of nowhere. and with the rabbi played by Dick Miller, and like the eulogy that he gives, and like you're just like sitting there like, what's going on? And then you have again like with all the other things happening with all the kills and the people that he tortured, and like Adam himself, like what happened to Adam? And then like, okay, so that's okay. And then another thing that I was going to bring up is like Josh, the black character, like to do this big whole spiel with him and the mother, and like again, like he thinks that the mother's trying to hit on him, and like he finds out that Rachel and David are having sex begrudgingly when Judy comes in there and just blurts it out, and then he leaves, right? And like he's going on fine, I guess, and then like I was thinking like, because they make him out to be like, when he's talking to Rachel's mother, like he wants to, he pulls away from her. Like I want to, be with Rachel, do all this stuff there, and and keep the faith basically. So I was expecting like him to be like the one, like, oh, the black character is going to come along and save the day, where like he's the like the perfect vessel in a sense because he's keeping the faith, and it'd be totally 180 of the black character doesn't die. I mean, he still technically doesn't die, but not in the way that I kind of wanted it to happen. That made the overall film. He's just okay. You cheated on me, bye, and then his character's gone until like the final scene, and then Adam becomes like the main character to take down or talk bad mouth Hanukkah killer. And it just like felt weird and uneven.
And that, like, I hate. That's one thing that really kind of frustrated me the most, I think, was that they wasted him as a character. Like, just completely like set him up to. And it was set up to where it looked like he was going to become like the main guy because he's like, he wouldn't drive on the Sabbath. He won't do anything on the Sabbath. Like they always say he adheres to the rules. Like he tries to follow and be a good Jew. And that right there is what the Hanukkah killer likes. So I kind of expected, I was like, okay, so maybe they should have a back and forth. Like, I think it would have been a much more compelling story. And then, just for Adam to be like, oh, I was going to be a rabbi, but I decided against it. And then, poof, nothing happens. Like, it just switches screens. And then it gives a long, long speech for that lasts like 15 minutes that didn't really kind of go anywhere, which, I mean, I didn't mind that much. In most religious movies, you'll see a sermon or two. So it's fine. Like, I wasn't, like,
Yeah, but at first I was like, who's dead? Who's this eulogy for? I was unsure. Like, I guess it was Feist because he mentioned, like, father like son. And so I would assume it was, again, the Loomis character. But it's just like, who's this other guy that's just standing there listening to it? It comes out like it's his other brother. And it's like, okay, so, and it's just like that whole ending is just like, kind of just like, what? It just kind of lost you for a second. Like, it's kind of out of place.
Yeah.
It's just not a strong ending. And again, it starts out well with, again, Sid Haig and the beginning and backstory. And like, it starts off superbly. For a film like this, and then it just doesn't do anything. It just meanders around. It's long periods and nothing, and talking, and the party scenes. It's not even a party. And then like again, that one guy that was with just like there's just like all this stuff that just like it goes nowhere. And like we're more worried and interested in jalapeno poppers than we are about an actual killer. And we should get a cab.
I thought the sex
$200
scenes went too long. Like, I felt like the sex scenes in the movie were just, it was almost an absurd amount of nudity in this movie. And I get most of it, like, for the thing, but it just felt like, honestly, it just felt like torture porn. Like, I got that feeling, like, I was like, okay, when she was getting her skin flaked, I was just like, okay. I mean, there's full bush. She's strapped down to a table with a ball gag in her mouth. Like, that must have been awkward to, like, purchase for him. Like, just going into a sex shop and, like, hey, can I get some ball gags, please? Thanks. You're a sinner.
Yeah, it's like weird that he just, like, again, goes after these certain individuals. You know, it's like, because he lives behind where the gas station is, I guess. I have no idea. And so, again, it makes sense. But, like, it's like the character from, the sister from freaking, Scarecrow County, where, like, Loomis comes in. Like, he did this, so he knows, or Nina. Nina is the one, I think, the one girl who brings the Feist to her, you know, to the party, where she knows, like, oh, my sister was there, and, like, you came, and then, like, you left the thing on the counter. That's where he found the party, and that's how he found you guys. So it's just like the character comes in and knows everything and starts, you know, giving it out in excruciating detail. You know, it's just like, Jesus, another one of those characters?
Yeah, and, like, when they were like, let's get up and go to the police. I don't want to. I'm tired. And just laying there. And he's like, nope. Adam's like, nope, gotta go. And smacks her leg off that. I was like, you just met her and you're acting like you guys have known each other for years. I was like, that. And I was like, if she was, like, that worried about, you know, her family and, I was like, you might want to jump up and, because this guy is telling you that there was a murderer, and he lost track of the murderer's son, and now people are coming up with Star of David's carved into their chest, which was the Hanukkah killer's M.O., and you all are just taking it like it was no big deal. It's like, even though she was the one that was making it like a big scene about it too. I was just like, wait, previously she was making a big scene, and now she acts like she doesn't care. What the? I was like, that's a major character.
He brings
flaw.
the Loomis character there, and he does the whole speech, and then she leaves, and then like, oh, I'm gonna sleep, and then I don't care. Screw the police. And then they do the whole fucking thing. They don't even show it, where they go to the police. Like, it just comes back, and the Russian guy is just giving a big spiel, like, oh, at least they kind of sort of believe us. I mean, the story works out with Feist, but there's just, again, there's so much that the film needed to, you know, turn down a little of the scenes, and like, and they didn't need like the fucking dick joke with the dreidel. That was just too much. And then that doesn't really add up anything either, because it's just, again, the character disappears from the bathroom and you're nowhere to be seen. You don't even get to see like any remains, I don't think so, of his character. He's just gone from the film. And again, it's like the finale of the film is just like they glossed over it, and like they wanted to do this big speech about Judaism and religion and being, you know, like good Jew, bad Jew, stuff like that. And it's just like they kind of glossed over that it's supposed to be a horror movie as well, that you're wanting to make this, you know, a Jewish horror movie, and, you know, a Jewish Michael Myers in a way. And they just kind of glossed over that by putting, I'm not going to say too much religion talk in there, because, again, it's like the whole point is like Obadiah's, you know, Judah, like he made up basically everything. And so that kind of made Obadiah go crazy, and like the fake outing, you know, his word, you know, his father's word intact, his father's beliefs intact, and then you just go back and forth with Adam for 10 minutes about being good and bad, and saying that he's, you know, Obadiah is bad in general because you're not supposed to be near a dead body, or all that stuff. And it's just like, it kind of puts it at a halt, because like it really, I mean, the whole film's sort of put at a halt anyway because of the party and the dialogue not being all that great. And it's just like they don't really do what they're supposed to with the characters. I mean, I don't really understand with why they went this way. I mean, I get maybe constraints or just like he needed to gloss over the script a little bit longer to really hone it down to a fine craft. But again, I don't know if it's the guy's first film or not. But like it was there, you know, like honestly, it was there.
Yeah.
He just needed to work on it a little bit longer and just like go over it another draft, trim some things down, maybe add a little bit more gore. You know, because you have all these characters, you know, you couldn't see what happened to the guy that did the dreidel penis joke at the bathroom that got pulled out of the window.
Yeah.
You couldn't do anything with him. I mean, you got to see the star of David on the sister, Ian's sister. I think that was her. And then again, the skin thing. So like there's not much like when it comes to gore. I mean, the effects are good, but there's not much of it. And again, just the pacing. Like you could have got rid of, again, trim the party stuff down, the trivial conversations that like, oh, this is a sausage fest. Like we don't need to hear that for 5 minutes. Like, oh, this is a sausage fest. Where's the girls? You know, like that went on way too long than it needed to be. And the jalapeno poppers in the stove, like the taxi shit, that it's just like all this stuff just like felt like filler. And it just felt like they had the general idea, but they just didn't know how to work it properly. You know, they just didn't know how to handle the given material to make this film that good. Like I said, it's there. It could have been so much greater with the way it started and the gore and the look at the killer. And, like, again, they could have turned it into a mindless slasher, yeah. I mean, like, Christmas Blood was sort of that, in a way. But, like, you know, again, it's hard to compare it. They're kind of on the same, you know, tide, right? Honestly. They're kind of at a tie because they're both about the same. When you look back at Christmas Blood, they're neck and neck, about the same thing, except for one's a little bit more bloodier. Because you have, you know, Michael Myers Santa, and then you have Michael Myers Jew. So it was, but nonetheless, it's not. I wouldn't, like I said, Ian might watch it again. I wasn't the biggest fan of it because it was just like, again, there's just the potential, and like again, the whole subplot with Josh, the black Jew, and like he should have been like the hero. But again, I guess that don't make sense because like the Hanukkah killer couldn't be after him because he's not there. So it you know, it kind of makes sense that in the way like you could have had him be like the savior instead of Adam, because Adam just felt like, you know, he's kind of shoehorned in there, and I don't know. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, and it could have been so much better. And again, that's a lot. You know, we say that a lot, but you know, we're trying to see the good in it, and like it would have been something interesting. They just went over a few key things that we mentioned, you know, previously, and it could have been okay. I mean, but at the moment, it's just, again, it's overlong. It drags. The party scenes are just horrendous. And gore's good. The killer looks okay, even though I've seen it numerous times before. You know, that cloaked, brimmed hat, black coat silhouette done numerous times before. But I still like the look. And, of course, now he looks... At first, I thought he had like a sort of like a weird skull face, but actually it's not. You know, some kind of weird plastic over his face with the beard and the Jew locks. I mean, you know, the curls, I guess I should say. Yeah, it's not that great, and it could have been handled so much better. But, Ian, your final thoughts on the film and anything else you want to talk about on there.
Right. Well, I just wanted to know, like, because it looked like, if I'm not mistaken, everybody that he took and killed, he sprawled them out in rooms. And, like, the mother found the daughter. I believe. I was very confused by what the hell was that whole ending and where everything took place. Because I heard, you know, woman scream, and then Josh was, I guess, coming home, and
Adam was there, dead, I guess.
Yeah, I was, and so I just want to know, how the fuck did he know where they all lived? Like, I guess he probably took their IDs or something and was just, like, driving around with dead bodies and was like, hey, because it looked like they lived in, like, an apartment or in a dorm. So they didn't think it was weird some guy was dragging a limp body up the stairs or anything. Or I just was very confused, like, how he just, like, got them all there. And I get it. It was to leave, like, a message and all of that. But, like, it felt weird. I mean, I thought it was cool, some of the way the gore and stuff looked, and, like, how he made
I like the one with the intestines of Star and David. I like that one.
Yeah. I was like, oh, because, I've seen a couple of, Jewish movies that involved murder, and I was like, I was hoping they would do something with the Star of David that wasn't, like, just carved in, and I was so glad when I saw the intestines. I was like, oh yeah, that's fucking cool as hell. And I did like the when they filleted that girl. Like, I wasn't like, I thought something was going to happen, but I wasn't prepared for him to, like, fully skin her like that. And I was like, oh.
that definitely felt like something that he saw out of Martyrs and wanted to sort of recreate.
Yeah. But there was, like, I mean, apart from the few good scenes, there really wasn't a whole lot to this movie, and I wish they would have just tweaked things.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think it would the sermon would have been so much better if they would have done that in the beginning, kind of getting it out of the way, and then to set the tone for the movie. Because I did like the message that the rabbi was saying. But I felt like that would have been a better part for the beginning than the end.
And another thing is, like, when Caroline Williams was walking the Obadiah when he was younger through the cemetery, the mausoleum and everything, like, that felt sort of out of place. Like, what does this have to do with anything? I mean, is it supposed to, like, life and death sort of thing? Like, it just, like, the message there, like, sprinkled in through all the shitty party sequences and sex sequences, it just, like, felt out of place as well. Like, that could have been handled so much better. And, like, again, the whole sermon, it's like, there's parts in there, but it's just like, it just did not know how to handle it and make it, like, they wanted to do, like, normal slasher with sex and violence and, all that stuff, but then they wanted to have a message about Judaism and, all that stuff, and it just did not mesh well as, hopefully, as good as they intended it to be.
Right. And, I mean, I think I kind of understood, because she went on a little tangent when he was in the cemetery about how if you tattoo your body, then you're not going to make it to the burial, their burial site, and with everybody, and they're not going to go to heaven. So that's what I interpreted. Like, I was like, they were just trying to give reasons why he's doing what he's doing. Like, between his father and his mother, feeding him all of this, extremist views.
Points of views, yeah.
Yeah, and of why he turned out the way he is. But I was like, you could have just did that without, like, the full walking around scene. You could have just had a flashback of her saying that, and boom, you got, like, saying those things, and boom, you got 10 minutes less of a movie. So
yeah, but it's kind of hard to pay attention when you follow that up with anybody want jalapeno poppers. I mean, you kind of just lose all.
Got pizza rolls.
Like,
it's like you can either take my jalapeno poppers or get the fuck out. Yeah, that was hilarious when he was just like, take it or get the fuck out. I was just like, oh my God, really? I was like, and then it was just, I don't know, like, and especially like after that guy drives 2 hours up there, and then just, oh, well, time to turn around and go home. He could have saved everybody if he would have stopped being an asshole.
He doesn't have a wallet. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if he ever. And they never do anything.
Of course, he didn't get it back. She's dead.
No, I know. I meant like, they didn't use it like they were going to. I don't know how hard it was for them to just get in
he could have
cab.
came back and got his wallet, and then that's how you introduce him to him being the good Jew against the Hanukkah killer. In a sense.
Exactly.
But they don't. They couldn't. That's over their heads apparently. But
right. It was. And that's the problem. I think, there's a lot of flaws to it. I probably would only watch it again just because of some of the mild gore scenes, because I liked them, and I might not watch it by myself. Definitely wouldn't. I would definitely have if my friends and I ever had a holiday movie marathon, I'd probably put it in there, just because of my friends don't really necessarily watch super gory things, and I like making them watch stuff. But anyway, I digress on that. But
I think we pretty much dissected this film as much as we could have. Like I said, it tries, and again, like most things, with some extra tweaking and like removing of certain scenes, or just shortening down the party sequences in general. Having Dreidel Dick go around and putting it on certain like here's light socket, here have a Dreidel Dick, humping things. Like, we didn't need that. It's supposed to be there for a joke. Yeah, I get it, but it's just like we didn't need it. It was just unnecessary. A lot of things in this film was unnecessary. And again, the whole thing with Ian's sister coming in, like, are you wearing my clothes? Like, tried your clothes on, and then I got drunk. So it's like, again, all this stuff, and then that whole fucking sequence with TV and the midget Jew and the midget rabbi, and it's like, what the hell? I know it sets up everything, but then...
And then that, like, lesbian scene that didn't go anywhere. It was just there, and then it just, just cuts off, and then...
And then the whole... I know the sex scene was a joke in general, because I know that was played in for laughs, because, like, fuck me with your baby dick. It's like, okay. That was a joke.
Oh,
I get
my
it.
God.
Yeah.
I was like, she dragged that joke out way too long. That joke should have just been one and done, and then I was just like, oh, my Lord. Yeah, there's really not much.
Yeah. And then I love that, it kind of carries over where she's, like, still wanting to be with him, and, like, he's, like, shoving her off of him. So it's like, I get it. It's like an ongoing joke. I wish he just did that with the film, making it something ongoing and not, this would be cool, have this and that. But nonetheless, I think that's going to do it. Ian, any final words before we call tonight?
Well, it felt like they tried to do a comedy, but also tried to make it too serious, and I felt like that they really didn't know which way they were going to go with that film, and that's sad.
It is.
It sounded cool, so
yeah, it did. But nonetheless, that is our review for Hanukkah. As we mentioned, we wanted to do this to bring in the Jewish holiday as it is now. So, Ian, we'll continue our conversation off air and figure out what we're going to do for next week. We got various things we can discuss and decide on. So, everyone, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Good night.